Ready?
I think we're ready.
Okay.
As ready as we're going to be.
As ready as we're going to be. Yes. Okay, I would like to call to order the Clarkston Independence District Library Board of Trustees meeting for December 12th, 2022 at 6:32 p.m. Let's rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We're still working on that. Roll call, please.
Jan Gaffney.
Here.
Allison McFadden-Kiesling.
Here.
Nancy Moon.
Here.
Alan Panter.
Here.
Marilyn Pomeroy.
Here.
Maggie Sands absent. Chris Shull.
Here.
Julie Meredith here.
Okay. I'll accept a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda as presented. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion is carried. Call to the public. Hello.
Andrew Drolay with Frenchport. Small report this week. We had our results in from the holiday book sale. It was a very good sale. We did round numbers 2,300, a little over that and some change. In general, the event went very well. There's good staffing, cleanup, everything like that. We had a lot of positive feedback on it. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great.
I'll now accept a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded that we accept the consent agenda as presented. There are 6 items. Is there any item that anyone needs to discuss individually? If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion is carried. Okay, library statistics.
All right. In front of you, you have the library statistical report. So just so that you're aware, the DOW that's on there means day of the week. And it is broken down into traffic and computer circulation, wireless, various information questions, etc. And then it's got the monthly totals at the bottom. We have had 8,041 visitors this month, over 20,000 circulations, over 530 computer users, nearly 1,000 information questions, 5,900 downloads, 4,100 wireless users, 110 study room uses, and a number of children's programs with good turnout. The other sheet that you see behind it is a summary that shows you how those numbers translate over the various months, January, February, March, all the way through October. And then the very last sheet shows you in comparison percent changes to last year, which obviously last year was a little bit different still because we were still dealing with the pandemic, and so these numbers all look very wonky when we look at them. But there's been a lot of growth since last year, obviously. So.
You could try on the team program.
Any questions or comments? Are we getting back to normal?
Yes, it's starting to feel much more normal, the traffic patterns.
Very good. Library Director's Report.
Right, also included in your handouts that are before you. So in terms of general update, due to the current competitive job market, we have continued to seek candidates to fill open positions this month. This evening, the selection committee for 2 full-time positions are pleased to recommend candidates for appointment for Teen Services Librarian and Innovations Librarian, so you will see those shortly. I am currently participating in the Library of Michigan's Public Library Financial Management Cohort, a year-long program subsidized by the Institute for Museum and Library Services and taught by a professor from the University of Georgia's Carl Vinson Institute of Government. This is an opportunity to expand my knowledge of public library finance and work on updating our library's policies and procedures. In November, I successfully completed the budgeting module of the program, and in December and January, I am working on the government accounting module. That one obviously takes 2 months, not just 1. So.
And still there'll be an iceberg that you haven't.
And still it will feel like an iceberg, yes, I'm sure. Okay, next item. From September through December, the library conducts its performance review process. Supervisors meet individually with staff to discuss how things are going and set goals for the coming year. The staff and board provide feedback to the board's performance review committee regarding the library director, and the subcommittee meets with the director, which will take place Tuesday, December 13th. The library board conducts a self-review process and will host a workshop to review and discuss the results. This workshop is proposed to take place the week of January 23rd. It was also suggested by staff that we consider a process that would allow them to provide feedback about their direct supervisors. I will work with the department heads to develop this element to be integrated into that process for next year. I don't know if you wanted to set the date for that meeting, that workshop. You want to talk about that later?
Yes, you
Okay.
want to think about
Okay.
when we would
When
like
we
to
wanna do that.
January, that week of January 23rd.
That week of January 23rd.
January week, okay.
Okay. The 7-member library board is made up of 5 residents from Independence Township, appointed by the Township Board, and 2 residents from the City of Clarkston, appointed by the City Council. The term of office is 3 years, with the current term set to expire on December 31st, 2022. The City Council reappointed Nancy Moon and Maggie Sands at their meeting on November 28th, and the Township Board reappointed Jan Gaffney, Allison McFadden-Kiesling, Marilyn Pomeroy, and Chris Shull, and appointed Alan Panter to complete the current term in addition to the new term at their meeting on December 6th. So thank you all for serving. I very much appreciate that. In recent months, the City of the Village of Clarkston has been working with Bowman Chevrolet on a project to add electric vehicle charging stations in some of the parking spaces downtown. This project specifically looks to place these stations in locations where vehicles will be parked for an extended period of time to allow for them to charge. In the case of vehicles parked in the city, they are considering the visitors to the many restaurants. The library has also been identified as a prime location for this type of service, since people at the library are often studying, attending programs, or working. Bowman has reached out to us, and I have requested information so we can begin a discussion about this possibility. So that is a forthcoming thing. More to come.
Coming events.
Coming events, yes, coming soon. Collaborations. On Tuesday, November 15th, the library held the dedication of Debbie's Book Nook, the new seating area in the youth area. This project is in memory of Deb Locker, a longtime friend of the library. The dedication was a hybrid event featuring a story time performed by Head of Children's and Teen Services, Stacia Serafin, and included family and friends in person and via Zoom. At the end of the program, all attendees had a chance to visit and reminisce, and in-person attendees also enjoyed light refreshments. It went very well. It was a good evening.
Very nice.
The library and Friends of the Library have been collaborating on a Little Free Library project honoring the memory of Carol McNally, the Friends of the Library president who passed away in March of this year. So far, this project has restored the 2 Little Free Libraries installed by the Girl Scouts in Depot Park and on Washington Street in Clarkston. Molly Weiner, the library's school outreach coordinator, worked on 2 additional Little Free Libraries at the local mobile home parks. This included the restoration of a Little Free Library at Clinton Villa Mobile Home Park and the purchase and installation of a new Little Free Library at Independence Woods Mobile Home Park. Restoration work was completed by Jim DeRelay and Kathy Cordair and her husband. The Clinton Villa Little Free Library is currently being decoratively painted by a local artist, Mary Hartz, and we hope to have it reinstalled by the end of the year. The Independence Woods Little Free Library was painted by local artist Mary Himberg. Books are being provided by the Friends of the Library, and monitoring and filling of the Little Free Libraries is being done by Joanne Broda and Nancy Moon. Thank you very much.
And Jim.
Oh, and Jim is helping with that as well. Thank you, Jim. And Saturday, December 3rd was a busy day at the library, as it included the Friends of the Library Holiday Book Sale, the Church of the Resurrection Bake Sale, and the Rotary's Newsboys program. These projects all went very well and were well received by the public. So,
Thank you.
any questions about any of those projects? No?
It's been busy.
It's been always busy.
All right, we have quite a few items under regular business tonight. So let's start with number 1, appointment of a full-time teen librarian.
All right. So, at the August meeting, the library board approved the posting of a full-time teen services librarian position. The selection committee consisted of Stacia Serafin, Julie Meredith, and Marilyn Pomeroy. During the selection process, we interviewed 5 candidates. Chelsea Pridmore has a degree in psychology and earned her MLIS in 2020. Having completed her degree at the beginning of the pandemic, most of her experience comes from a time when library services were ever-changing. She demonstrated resilience and flexibility during that time. She believes that the teen department of a library should be a safe space that helps youth bridge the gap between childhood and adulthood. Her interest in working in a team environment lends itself to our library's collaborative work environment. Her experience working in libraries that are both similar in size to CIDL and somewhat larger means that she will bring ideas that will fit with our community's expectations and help us grow beyond our current offerings. The selection committee recommends Chelsea Pridmore as the new full-time teen services librarian. Based on her education, experience, and in relation to other staff, we propose a starting salary of $48,000 to be adjusted to $50,000 after a 3-month orientation period. And this is a budgeted position. And Chelsea is in the office if you'd like to, or in the audience if you'd like to say hi.
Hi.
And Chelsea is
Welcome.
And welcome aboard.
Yes.
We're delighted to have you.
Yes.
Any questions or comments? You're very pleased. Everyone's very professional and worked expeditiously. I will accept a motion.
So moved.
Who made the motion? Allison.
Allison made the motion.
Allison,
Thank you.
And I'll second it.
And a second by
Thank you,
Nancy.
Nancy.
Thank you. It's
got
been
it.
moved and seconded to appoint Chelsea Pridmore as the full-time teen librarian with a salary of $48,000 at DOH and $50,000 after a 3-month orientation period with the standard benefits package of a full-time employee and a date of hire of December 19th, 2022. There are no questions or comments. Everyone in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion is carried. Welcome aboard.
Yes. She starts in a week.
Yes.
And we're very excited about that.
Number 2.
All right. At the August meeting, the library board appointed a full-time innovations librarian. Unfortunately, due to personal reasons, that employee was forced to step down from the position. The original selection process was rigorous and competitive with 3 great candidates, and the final decision process was a very difficult one. Instead of requesting permission to repost the position, the selection committee was given the opportunity to revisit a candidate we had interviewed during the original selection process. Neil Parr is an adult librarian at the Brighton District Library. He's approachable, creative, and has experience executing a wide variety of interesting programs, from food to writers' groups to tech take-aparts. In addition, he has developed video content and utilizes social media platforms to expand the library's presence. His collaborative spirit will be a great fit with our vision for our innovations librarian to work across departments, engaging all ages in seeing the library with fresh eyes and reimagining what library programs can be. We feel Neil will be a great fit as part of the CIDL team. The selection committee recommends Neil Parr as the full-time innovations librarian. Based on his education experience and in relation to other staff, we propose a starting salary of $48,000 to be adjusted to $50,000 after a 3-month orientation period. This is a budgeted position.
Okay.
And Neil is also in the audience, if you'd like to say hi.
Good morning. Good afternoon and evening. Thank you, Neil.
Looks like we see you right after Christmas.
So we're delighted that you are both coming on board and
Yes.
able to join us this month. Are there any comments
No.
or questions? As part of the process, I was very impressed with both of our candidates, having talked to them before. So we want to welcome you aboard, and I will accept a motion.
I move that we appoint Neil Parr as the full-time innovations librarian with a salary of $48,000 at date of hire and $50,000 after a 3-month orientation period, with the standard benefits package of a full-time employee and a date of hire of December 26, 2022.
All those in, who's our second?
Allison.
Allison.
It's been moved and seconded that we appoint Neil Parr as the full-time innovations librarian with a salary of $48,000 at DOH and $50,000 after a 3-month orientation period with the standard benefits package of a full-time employee and a date of hire of December 26th, 2022. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion is passed. Thank you. Number 3.
Our candidates are welcome to stay, obviously, but if you don't want to, you don't.
We understand if you want to.
Don't feel obligated
We
to
won't
sit through the
take it
whole meeting if you
personally.
don't want to.
But welcome aboard. We're glad you're here.
Okay, discussion of extension of a HAP coverage for departing staff member. Unfortunately, due to personal reasons, Leah Bruce was forced to step down from her position at CIDL. We are sad to see her go. Because of difficult circumstances and timing, she is struggling to maintain healthcare coverage during this transitional period. She has requested an opportunity to maintain coverage on CIDL's HAP plan during this time. with the full cost of the premium to be paid by her. HAP will allow this. There is no cost to the library. While CIDL is under no obligation to do so, there is no ill will between the library and this individual and no reason why we cannot allow this. She believes her new coverage will begin February 1st or March 1st. And in terms of budgeting, the departing employee would pay the full premium, so there is no burden to us.
So we're not required to do this under COBRA? Is that because of our size?
We do the end of the month, till the end of the month. So she was leaving December 4th, and we cover until the end of December, but she has asked if there was any possibility that we had extended
Okay.
longer than that.
But under COBRA, the employee usually pays.
Yep, and that's exactly what we're doing till the end. We're only required to do it till the end of December,
Okay.
so.
I thought it was a longer period of time, but it's been a long time.
Well, we're not really, we're too small for specifically for COBRA, so.
Okay. That's what I wondered if it was.
Exactly,
if it was
but
due
we
to
would
our
be
size.
able to do this for her without any other issue if we're willing.
Is it enough? Is that enough time
Mhm.
for her? Okay, good.
Yep. She actually thinks she only needs it till the end of January, but I'm asking you to cover potentially through February, just in case there's some glitch in getting it started or whatever,
Okay, good,
so.
good, okay.
And I think since that'll give her no lack of coverage
Right.
for that period of time.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, to give her a comfort zone that she's got health care.
absolutely. Yep.
Okay. Okay, I will accept the motion.
I approve the extension of the HAP coverage for Leah Bruce through January and February 2023 if needed, with the full cost of the premium to be paid to CIDL by the end of the month prior to the coverage period.
I'll second that.
Okay, any comments or questions? Okay, all of those in favor of this motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion is carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, number 4, Flag Star signatures.
Okay, due to changes in the board, we need to update the list of individuals authorized to sign checks on the library's Flagstar account. As a reminder, 2 signatures are required on all checks. It is standard practice for checks to be signed by authorized board members first, with the director authorized to sign in the absence of a second board member, or if a check needs to be signed to meet a due date or prevent late fees. So at last month's meeting, you determined who those folks would be, but then when I called the bank, they said, oh, no, you need to do a roll call vote in the meeting authorizing the, I didn't remember doing that part, it's been so many years ago, so I apologize for that. If you would be so
Any
kind as to.
questions?
No, I'll be happy when we have more signs.
Yep.
So we have more signers now.
Yeah, well,
Yep,
it was
so
just because when the Visa check was due the other day, I really wasn't planning on going out, but I got a phone call and it was like, well, it's got to be mailed today. So it's like, okay, well, be
And
nice.
that helps if someone's on vacation. Sure.
Right,
Or ill, or.
right, because when it's only just the 2 of us, then
Yeah.
that,
Right, we try to be very transparent in all of our financial dealings, and so we want to make sure we have multiple people looking at all of our expenses,
right,
so forth.
right.
I'll accept a motion.
I'll move that we approve the master signature authorization agreement as presented.
Second. Okay, please call the roll.
Jan Gaffney,
Yes.
Allison McFadden Keesling,
Yes.
Nancy Moon,
Yes.
Alan Panter,
Yes.
Marilyn Pomeroy,
Yes.
Chris Schall.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, motion is approved. Now to the generator.
As a part of the capital improvement plan in 2020, the library had planned to work on a project to install a full building generator. Due to the pandemic, this project had to be set aside, but now we are revisiting putting this project back on the schedule. Due to aging infrastructure in the area, the library's power can be unreliable, and while not necessarily an essential service, the community relies on the library for internet, climate control, and other library services when their own power fails. In addition, the lapses in the library's power prevents the compressor from maintaining the pressure in the library's dry fire suppression system, allowing it to arm and causing the expense of having the system drained and reset. It is not a board meeting if we don't talk about fire suppression. The township had a full building generator installed a number of years ago on their similarly sized building for approximately $100,000. However, supply chain issues have caused a significant cost increase and extended lead times for equipment on projects like this. After speaking to an electrician for initial information, it became clear our project would need an electrical engineer. The township and city often use HRC for projects like this, and the library used HRC for its parking lot project in 2015 to 2017. To begin the discussion, I reached out to HRC for an initial assessment of the project. HRC's proposal is presented for your review and discussion. And just so you're aware, when I was speaking to Michael, who is the engineer assigned to us, he is estimating a 52-week lead time on a generator for a building our size, and also said that the project, they just did one on their building. Now, their building is in Bloomfield, and they had to do really nice landscaping around their generator because of their location, and we don't really have that issue with our building the way it's seated, but their project was nearly $300,000. So where my estimate at the $100,000 to $150,000 range may be a significant underestimate at this point. One of the things that he did suggest in his presentation was normally when you do an RFP for a project like this, they draw up the entire plan, they set up the RFP, they put it out there, and then contractors bid on it. The whole process of what piece of equipment they would recommend, and they would do the ordering, and they would do the installation. What Michael is suggesting in this proposal is that instead of doing it in that order, they would come in and their electrical engineers would size the equipment, and they would do an RFP for the piece of equipment, and then we would order the piece of equipment because we've got that 52 weeks of lead time. And then while we're waiting for the equipment to come in, they would finalize the design plan. And then they would put out the RFP for a contractor to install based on the specs that they have designed. So they have come up with a slightly different strategy in order to use some of that time, some of that 52 weeks, instead of delaying when the piece of equipment would be ordered while they do up all of this work. So that's the only thing that was a little bit different in this from previous RFPs that we've talked about and previous consulting work that we've done.
Did he seem to think it was a problem of a contractor coming in with a pre-ordered, pre-selected piece of equipment?
Apparently, this is the way they've done the last few, and it's a process that's actually worked pretty well for them.
It might keep some contractors from bidding on the job, but there will be other contractors that will be perfectly happy to bid on it that way because it actually, in some ways,
Saves them
can make
time.
it easier for them. So, you know, anybody that doesn't want to bid on a job that's set up that way, well, then okay. You know, as long as we get enough competitive bids in, then we're good.
Now, I did just go to HRC. I have not talked to other electrical engineer consulting firms, and I probably should do that, but I wanted to kind of get you started on this conversation and get your feedback and your insight into how you would like to proceed.
And I was wondering about that.
Well, we needed to start somewhere.
Right.
So this is where I started.
Yeah, the other piece of that, though, is if the township and/or the city have recently done a competitive bid for engineering services, and they were the low bidder, and we have used them before, it might be, but somebody needs to have done a competitive bid, otherwise you get locked into one engineering firm and they can, and, you know, I don't know this firm very well, I'm a little bit familiar with them, but then they can charge whatever they want if they don't think that there is any competition. But if the township and/or the city has recently bid out engineering services, maybe we could piggyback and save some time there.
And I think what they do is because they do so much consulting work because of the DPW, I think they do a bidding process and they have a firm that they work with.
Right,
We just
right.
do these little spot
And if
projects.
they have done that, then it might be possible to kind of piggyback on that.
Yep.
Because I know that's what we used to do in Pontiac. We just hired a consulting engineering firm, and every 3 years or whatever it was, we rebid that out.
Yep.
And then they were used for everything during that 3-year period, so.
Okay.
Well, and we did deal with them, what, 4 years ago?
Yeah,
Right.
they did the parking lot for us.
And they've done a good job, so
Yeah.
that's, no.
They did do a nice job.
And it does add an extra layer of, time if you have to get, bids for your engineering services first.
I spoke to a trustworthy electrician to kind of get the project started, and I had him come in and just give me some feedback about the building and make sure that I knew what kinds of questions to ask and things like that. And And he said, don't do this project without an electrical engineer to do the design plan. The building is too big and there's too much electrical in this building. So absolutely, we need an electrical engineer to do the
Yeah.
design plan for us.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with that at all. It's,
But I was at least trying to get sort of some feedback from him about the kinds of things that I should ask and the kinds of things I should be aware of. And he walked through the building and gave me some really good things to look for and things like that, so.
And they're going to put it on the roof still, or where?
No,
or
it would
be
be on the west side of the building.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Near where the hole in your wall was?
Yes, near where the
I was going to say near the shed, but
near the
okay.
shed, yes. Well, there's a utility easement on that side of the building, and it would be away from.
Okay.
There is
Yeah.
there is one home, but it's way up near the road, and where we would put it would be further back, so
Yeah.
there wouldn't be a sound issue there. And like I said, that whole west side of the building is utility easement. But that's where the gas hookup is, that's where the transformer to the building is, all of that is on that side of the building, so,
Okay, great.
yeah.
It would just join them.
It would just, yes, it
Yeah.
would just join everything else on that end of the building. And it is somewhat screened based on the fact that there's nothing else on the other side of it, but a lot of trees, so.
Yeah, that's good, okay. Good.
So what I'm hearing is that you would like to see a bid process for a consulting firm, is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, if nobody else has done one recently, I
Okay.
think that we should probably.
Mhm.
It's a significant amount of money that
It
they're
absolutely
talking
is.
about. If
Right.
it was, you know, a smaller dollar figure, maybe I would be more comfortable with it. And again, like I say, if the city or the township has recently, within the past, I don't know how many months, whatever, or if there's a,
I don't think they've done it recently.
yeah,
They
or
did
if
their.
there's an agreement with the township
Mhm.
that this is their consulting engineer, if they would let us piggyback on it and get whatever
Okay.
pricing structure they're getting from the engineering firm.
Okay, I will do that.
But it is taxpayer dollars and.
Who will know that over there?
Well, let's see, probably Carrie would be in charge of the contracts as the clerk, so I'll call and talk to her.
Okay.
Yeah. Either that or I can talk to Dave over at DPW because they're the ones that do most of that consulting work. So,
I agree. I said, I think if we if we
Right.
find out how much vetting has been going on before, I don't think we need to reinvent
no.
the wheel.
No, but if it's been years since anybody bothered to ask for quotes, then I think we should, just
Yeah,
because.
and we need to step up.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Is that
because
enough direction for
That's
tonight?
perfect.
That's it.
That's
Okay.
perfect. Yep.
One price is too high. $9,800 for them to watch the installation.
So we don't need to take a vote on anything at this point. We're just beginning the discussion,
No.
just like our fire suppression
No, and apparently we're
ongoing
going to be discussing it for a
discussions.
long time because it's got a,
It's got a lead time on it.
Yeah.
It indeed does. Yeah, sorry about that.
Well, it would really be great if we could at least get it ordered in the first quarter of 2023.
Well, they were quick to respond when I called for them to come out, so now I don't know how quickly they'll respond now that we're getting into the holiday, last couple of weeks
Yeah.
as the holiday approaches, but I will do my best.
Moving on,
Yeah, you just
little by little.
getting, starting.
Well, it's a big project and it's an expensive project,
It is,
so,
yeah,
So,
okay.
yeah.
Because the parking lot was an expensive project.
That was a 3-phase
Yeah.
project, so, yeah, that one was huge.
well, this one might turn out to be a 3-year project too.
Yes.
I would like to hope that wouldn't rival the parking
Of
lot,
course,
but
if we
we'll
order
see.
23 and install it,
Don't
you know,
tease us.
could easily be 2 years.
But
Okay.
it is an important
It's
thing,
very-
and because the district, the Clarkston area does not have a lot of, we don't have a community center per se,
Right.
and so if we have power outages, we don't have a lot of places that
No, where people can go,
Right.
Yeah.
you know, which is, I mean, I think it's a great idea for us to do that. We are here to serve the community, and that's a huge service to the community.
Absolutely.
And, people can then come in and charge their devices and whatever else they need to do. And also in extreme cold, if people's power is out and their furnace isn't working, it sure is nice to think that especially people with small children or older people have a place where they can come and get warm.
Absolutely.
No, I think it's a great thing.
And
think when
learn
pow-
something.
I think when power goes out, we're the second ones to know. I think DTE is first, and then the second thing they do is call the library and ask if we have power. So, and they come scurrying over to use whatever we got going here. So we
Right,
get
and
lots and lots
and
of
I
calls.
think that's a great service if we can,
Yeah.
if we can do that. And, we,
Absolutely.
yes, it's a lot of money, but we have the funds to do something like this, as long as, and it's not a frivolous thing. We're not just like wasting money. We're,
No.
it's a good service, so.
I think so too.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to number 6, emergency paid sick leave policy.
In June 2020, the library board approved an emergency paid sick leave policy in response to the COVID pandemic. This policy provided paid sick time for all employees who were being tested or tested positive for COVID in an effort to discourage the temptation to work while sick and risk infecting coworkers. The policy was originally effective until December 31st of 2020 and was extended by the board through 2021. In May, the board determined it would be prudent to again extend the policy through August, and in August extended it until December 31st. At this point in time, there is legislation being considered that would require paid sick time for all employees that could be taking effect in February. In addition, there is a subcommittee working on a complete update of the library's employee policy handbook. Extending this policy until February would provide protection to the staff from the cases of COVID while allowing adequate time for more comprehensive sick leave policy to be incorporated into the handbook.
Are we thinking February 1st or February 28th?
February 28th.
Having just gotten over COVID, yes, I think it's a good idea.
Well, a little bit more.
Anything that encourages people to actually stay home when they're sick, I think is great, because
Absolutely.
that's how diseases get spread.
It's true.
Because
Very, very
people
true.
think, I gotta work, I can't.
That's right.
And our staff has been very thoughtful and not abusive of it. And I mean, it's just been really nice to be able to say to people, you're getting tested, you're not sure, stay home, let's not spread it amongst the staff. Everybody's been very, very kind with each other. We've just been trying to keep everybody as healthy as possible through this whole thing, so.
And obviously, the health statistics say the variants are still spreading, people are still being hospitalized in addition to the flu and RSV, so
Yeah.
I will accept a motion.
I move that we approve the emergency paid sick leave policy to cover April 1st, 2020 through February 28th, 2023.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we approve the emergency paid sick leave policy to cover April 1st, 2020 through February 28th, 2023. Any comments? Any more comments, I should say? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion is carried. Number 7, longer. Let's take a look at the updated patron behavior policy.
All right, so the staff has been working on an update to the patron behavior policy. This updated policy consolidates a number of smaller policies and provides better coverage in a number of areas. So it's, as with many policies, it started with, we should add this little piece to the policy, and I reached out to the attorney, and when she went to add that little piece to the policy, looked at the rest of our policy and said, do you want me to clean the rest of this up? So it turned into a project of several months. We've been working on it since spring. But it would remove the patron rules of conduct, the animals on library grounds, the cell phone policy, and the soliciting and petitioning policy, and put all of that into one consolidated, efficient policy. As I said, the staff has been working on this for the last several months, and we feel it's in pretty good shape, but if you have any questions, I would be happy to field any of those.
Has our lawyer looked at, did she?
Oh, yes, there is, I could have sent you there's all the little comments down the sides, and that's what took so long, it kept going back and forth. We would change something, and then she would legalize it, and then we would tweak it again, and she would legalize it, and we would tweak it again, and she would legalize it, so.
So we know that's where that's coming from in our
Yes.
budget.
I'm just curious about library materials with bed bugs in them. Is this a common occurrence?
More than we would like to admit. we haven't really had any trouble with it here, but other libraries have, so,
Like, I read that, I went, huh?
I know.
yeah.
So we're being proactive, is that what I'm
And that's
hearing?
fine, yeah.
The beautiful thing about the attorney that we have is that she is a library law specialist. So when it comes to doing these sorts of policies, we don't pay her to create a policy for us. She has a template. And she sends us the template for a flat fee, and then we tweak it and edit it to fit our needs. And then we pay her to make our tweaks legal in the way. So it ends up being a very cost-effective way to write
Right.
policy. And so part of the reason that that's in there is because another library thought it was important, and when we saw it, we thought, well, we're not taking it out, so we left it in there.
No, well, I mean, it's fine. It's,
Yep.
you know, certainly there's no harm to have it in there, whether it's been an issue here or not. I was just kind of like,
Yeah, yep.
I'd rather have the policy, and then if something comes up, we can refer to it, and we actually have the policy.
right.
And that is kind of the nice thing about it. Libraries are very collaborative in that way as well. We're not in competition like businesses potentially could be. So we tend to help each other out. And what's in here are the policies that have been tried by the 384 library systems in Michigan, because the attorney that we use serves many, many of those library systems. And every once in a while, we are the reason that she adds something to the policy. So
It's only fair that.
we try not to do too much of that, but every once in a while, we do catch her off guard, so.
I know, it was a lot of reading, wasn't it,
It was.
this time?
Sorry.
Well, that's all right,
No, it was
reading
great.
what was, and reading what is proposed.
It's surprising you had to include some things.
Was a good review.
Indeed.
Yes.
Well, yeah, but there's no such thing
I know.
as common knowledge when it comes to that kind of a thing. So.
That's true. Does anybody have any questions or anything come up in your reading that,
No.
as I said, some of them said, oh, luckily we don't have this here, and we'd like that to stay.
We'd
But
like it to
Yes.
stay that way, exactly, exactly. We did tweak ours specifically to include, because we have so many people that walk through with their pets, ours includes a leash requirement, whereas many libraries just did not have a leash requirement. We need to because people walk through to get to the wooded area behind us,
Walkway.
yeah, and the story walk and whatever. So, I mean, there are some things that are specifically for us in here. And then other things that are just boilerplate language.
have not come up.
And we hope they never do.
Right. All right, I will accept the motion.
I move that we repeal the existing policies and replace it with the new policy as presented.
I'll second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we approve the patron behavior policy presented and repeal all those former policies. Okay. If there are no questions, comments, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion is carried. Thank you, because that was obviously a lot of work.
Indeed, indeed, and we're glad to cross it off the to-do list. It was one of those things that we hadn't intended on working on, but once we got going, we're glad we did it, so.
Well, and it's easier to deal with these policies without looking at the entire policy list that we have. So little by little, we are working through those.
Okay, post it.
Yeah, it'll be posted on our website, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. And last but not least, let's review the year-to-date financials and the year-end budget adjustments.
Okay, so those were handed out to you in a little pile next to you. They were not in the packet. So the first document that you have that I want you to look at, this is the standard, this spreadsheet is the standard budget. The reason I have this in the packet is so that you can see that this includes all the amended amendments up until 10/10. We did not make any amendments in November, but this is everything through 10/10. The thing that is interesting about this is, remember when you approve the budget that this is the level at which you approve the budget. So there are some line items that you're going to see broken down in the breakdown from the accountant that are not the level at which you approve. We want you to be able to see what's going on those lines, but we don't necessarily have to make amendments to those budget lines. So for example, 818.7, which is programming, 982, which is books, and 984, which is AV. Those are broken down into smaller, oh, and also 740. Those are broken down into smaller line items. And some of the little secondary line items are over budget and some are under budget and whatever. You don't need to make adjustments for those teeny tiny little budgets.
How much is that? We don't
Uh,
know.
As long as there's enough in the whole.
As long as there's enough in the whole thing to cover it, yes. So, just so that you're aware of that.
Okay.
And I have a cheat sheet here. Okay, so the next one that we're going to look at is the one that's in smaller type that says it's the budgetary comparison schedule for the general fund for year-to-date ending November 30th. So it is the 2-page, it looks like this.
Yep. In tiny print.
And the tiny print, sorry, I talked to the accountant, she's the one who creates that one. I create the one that's the big print.
No, but if you have to get it all on one page.
Right.
It's true.
That's
It is
fine.
true. Okay, so we're going to start under expenditures. We have flagged ones that we are concerned about. So in the wages one, we are not concerned about full-time wages because we've had some open positions. But we are concerned about part-time wages because how do you cover for full-timers when you don't have enough? You cover with part-time.
Right.
And so we are not yet over budget, but by the end of the year, we would be over budget. So that's one of the lines we're concerned about.
So the concern is indicated by the asterisk there?
The asterisk, yep.
Gotcha.
She flags those for me.
Okay.
And then FICA and Medicare, she has flagged. Health insurance actually does show that it's over budget, but she specifically gave me instructions not to mess with that one because she has not gone through and taken out what the employees have paid. So the employee
okay.
contributions need to be put back in there. And just so that you're aware, QuickBooks is our financial software. We have had a QuickBooks, I'm just going to call it a train wreck because I don't know what else to call it. They updated the software and something went wrong, and so they removed the upgrade to the software, and anything that we did between the time that they upgraded and the time that they unupgraded has created a mess. And so bless our accountant, who took her third quarter report and by hand calculated out from our check runs everything that we have expended from September 30th until now, so that you have this lovely report that you have in front of you. But in the process of doing that hand work, that little piece didn't get done. She's like, just don't mess with that one, I'll fix it. So that was her instruction to me. She flagged retirement, and I have gone through and done the calculation for retirement. We're in good shape for retirement. The one below it that says it's OPEB, that's actually HCSP. That one we actually have more money than needed because it is a retirement account that if you do not completely vest, you vest at 50% at 3 years and you vest 100% at 6 years, and we've had a number of people who left before the 3 or 6 year mark, and so that goes into forfeiture at MERS, and then we start to pay for the contributions that we need to from that forfeiture. So there's a bunch of expenses that didn't come out of that line item this year because, of course, we've had a bunch of turnover, and nearly everyone who turned over were people who had not
So we sort of have an
vested.
account.
We have an account, and we use it as it goes, and we have gotten to the bottom of that account, but then we had one more person leave, so. There's extra money, surplus in that line
So
item.
that's what happened, because I know MERS, once the money goes in, it's very difficult to get a check back out.
Well, we don't need to. All we
Right,
do
and
is,
I wasn't aware that that's how they worked, that
yep.
is an excellent solution.
Yeah, so right now it's at 0, but the person who just left, that money will forfeiture because we just paid her on Friday, and now whatever she didn't vest will go into forfeiture. So we actually keep it down. It goes in and it goes back out again. But then the money sits here idle because we don't need to use an ACH to send
Right.
it over to MERS. So, yeah, no, we never lose anything. We just reassign it. So.
Okay.
Are the account numbers that are on here, I see that on the budget adjustments, these account numbers don't exactly track with this budget schedule here. I'm just wondering about the level of adoption of the budget.
Oh, so the budget adjustments that I have here are for, oops, here's my list. Hang on. You're asking about the line item numbers?
For example, I can see the first one there, $23,000 from 980 to 707.
Mhm.
When I look at this report, and I go, well, I see 980, but I don't see 707.
Oh, 707
But I do
is,
see part-time staff costs.
is part-time staff. So it would be 707.1 would be librarian, 707.2 would be part-time circulation.
There's no 707 on this.
No, it would be on this other one that the
Oh, it's,
accountant gave you.
okay, so it tracks,
That's
I
a-
got
yep.
you, I got you.
It tracks with the more detailed one.
I got you, okay.
If we had to break it down by librarian and circulation and part-time, by the per type for part-time, you'd be doing budget adjustments all the time.
Okay, right, right.
It's just at a slightly higher level.
Gotcha.
Sorry, I didn't make that
Yeah.
clear. Okay, so going on to the next page of the accountant's list, the second page,
Second page.
that starts with audit.
Mm-hmm.
The legal fees, there is a surplus in there. We didn't really do a lot of, despite all of the work that we did on our
Our policy.
policies, yeah, we didn't do a ton with legal. And then our professional contracts, so there's more in legal, and the professional contract services were a little bit low, and she has that one flagged. Then in terms of the events, the 818.7, you can see that she's flagged a few of those. And then, of course, there's one that's 818.760 where there's a lot. So what we would do is not really need to move anything around because the overall 818.7 line has plenty of money to get us to the end of the year. So I'm not worried about that line item.
Okay.
Insurance, she has flagged insurance. Insurance is one of those expenditures that does not divide up evenly throughout the year. It has to be paid, completely paid by July. It comes in 4 payments, but it's like January and March and May and July, I believe. And so it's completely paid for. So while it looks like there's not enough money, there are no payments left to be made. So that's a little bit extra. And the reason that there is extra money in that line item is because we are part of MMRMA, Michigan Municipal Risk Management, and that is one of those funds where there is a pool of money, and all of the participants from municipalities put money into that pool. And depending on how many claims there are, if that pool grows too big, then money is reverted back, and we get rebate checks essentially from MMRMA. And so the reason that there is money in that account is because that would be the rebate checks that we got this year. We just put those right back into that line item. So that's why there's a little bit of a surplus there. Equipment maintenance. Equipment maintenance is a line item that belongs to IT. IT has 2 line items. They have equipment maintenance, which are sort of the support, the softwares and the subscriptions and such like that that are part of supporting it. And then he has 980, which is actual equipment. And essentially what he is saying is that he sort of miscalculated what he needed in those 2 line items. And so he is asking for budget adjustment there. There is quite a bit of money in the printing and subscriptions, printing and publishing line. She does have some projects that are still pending, so that line item, while it does look like there's a surplus, we think that that one will probably get used up. Subscriptions as well, we have 1 big bill left for the year, but that looks like, based on what we paid last year, that it should be enough to cover. Under operating supplies at 740, there's 740.1, 740.2, and 740.3. You do approve it at the 740 level. And so she was concerned about that 740.2 technical services, although I did check in with Brad. Brad is a master at estimating his budget, so I'm not worried about that at all. He will not go over. I think that's how much he has left, and he's done buying things for the year, so I think we're good there.
Is that the 583?
The $583, she was worried that he might still have something pending, but he doesn't. I asked him. He's good. We hop down to conferences and workshops. We had actually lowered that line item during the pandemic, and then you pumped some additional money into it. The staff has been really excited about going to workshops and such, so we did send more people to workshops and webinars and such, so we were doing a lot of training catch-up. But I do have a way to fund that without any issue there, so I'll ask for budget adjustment for that. The refunds and rebates, so that is when we have to refund money back And essentially what happens is Oakland County, when people pay their taxes, first they pay to the township. If they don't pay their taxes by the deadline of February 15th, it goes to Oakland County. Oakland County collects those taxes. Every once in a while, somebody gets a rebate, and Oakland County bills us for it. And when we have to pay back some money, we have to have somewhere in the budget to account for that, and that's that line. And we have not had to do very much of that this year. And so I stick money in that line just sort of as a placeholder in case we need it. We have not needed it. No report came for December. We are in good shape. So that's a little bit of a surplus we can use to fund some things that are needed. The building budget is flagged. It was flagged in the third quarter report, but some of the expenses that essentially what happened is the Friends were paying for some of those projects, those 975 projects. The Book Nook, for example, the library paid the money up front and then the Friends reimbursed the project. So in the third quarter, she had flagged it because it looked like it was going to go over budget, and then there was this influx of money from the Friends paying for those projects that we had sort of fronted. So just so that you're aware that that one is not a concern at this point. The equipment budget, there is a surplus there. Bill has asked that we leave $10,000 in that account, put $5,000 in his 933 equipment maintenance, and then the rest of the money, I was thinking we could use that to cover that part-time cost that we weren't sure, because that was part of his break-fix budget that he didn't need. We always give him a chunk of money in case anything breaks, and we did well this year. Nothing really major happened, which was good. That doesn't always happen that way. So just to go over the recommended budget adjustments, we are asking for $23,000 to go from 980 to 707 to cover those part-time staff costs. $4,000 to go from 719, which is our HCSP fund labeled as OPEB on your chart, into 715 to cover those FICA costs. $2,000 to go from 826, which is the legal costs, to 818, which is professional contract services, because we feel we've already gotten our last bill from the attorney, but we may still have a few more professional contract service bills coming in for graphic work and things like that. And I just want to make sure we have enough to cover. $4,000 from 964.703, which is the line item that is that rebate that we didn't really need, and put that in 958 to cover those additional staff training costs. And then $5,000 from 980 into 933 to cover Bill's additional equipment maintenance costs that he was concerned about covering. Any questions about any of those?
We're looking back and forth.
Sorry, no fun balance adjustments this evening, though.
I like how you take the time to kind of look at something that's sort of related, so that you're kind of taking money out of equipment here and putting it into a different angle of the equipment. That's good, because that shows that we're sticking to the overall picture really well.
I try really hard to be mindful about how we're using the money and not change the overall purpose and mission of how we're spending that money. So, you'll notice I'm not taking book money out to pay for staff or anything like that.
Right, and I think that's really good, because when we set the budget, we have an idea in our mind, so we want this for books and this for equipment, and you usually do a really good job. I just wanted to acknowledge that.
Thank you. Thank you. I try.
We appreciate that.
Yeah, that's right.
So this is the final budget amendment of the year?
These will be the final budget amendments of the year.
Okay, and are there any year-end adjustments that
We're surprised.
might need to be
I don't think
taken care of with that, or are they anticipated in this?
they're all anticipated in this. I don't anticipate any surprises. We keep a pretty close tabs on things. And after having done it for several years, I kind of know the bills that are going to come in at the end of the year. There are a couple of big ticket bills that come in. Subscriptions is one. So one of the things that we do is, if you can imagine, we have a lot of print subscriptions. And it would be very costly to write a check to every single subscription for every single magazine we get. So we go with a subscription company. So they manage all of our subscriptions, and we pay them to do that. And that bill comes in, and it's usually between $10,000 and $12,000, paying for 100 and some magazine subscriptions for a year. That bill hasn't come yet.
Got it.
But based on past experience and looking at what we paid last year and the number of subscriptions that we currently have on the books, we feel that we can cover that. Some of our equipment maintenance costs are very expensive, and they come in at the end of the year. Polaris, which is our integrated library system, that's the software we use to track the library's collection and the patrons and match up when people check out items. That software, the maintenance on that, depending on the various pieces, is about $20,000. That bill already came in this year, so we're in pretty good shape there. So, I mean, those are the kinds of things that usually are budget busters at the end of the year, and I did take pretty close look. I don't think I missed anything. Although I never make a promise, but I don't think I missed anything. We actually looked pretty closely. And Sharon, who has been our accountant for the past several years, is really good about looking at it and saying, hey, this came in really late last year, or did you catch this one? So she's been really good, and bless her for hand calculating all this for me over the course of the last several days.
So our software, is that going to be a perhaps change for next year
The software for
Quicken
well,
QuickBooks or?
so we've been QuickBooks Online for a while. We used to be QuickBooks, sort of the desktop version. The problem with the QuickBooks desktop version is that our accountant is contracted. She does not work in the building. So the problem with that particular software is only one user can use it at a time. So if Debbie, who's our administrative assistant who does accounts payable, is in working on it, and Sharon, who's the contracted accountant, needs to get in, they're bumping each other out. So we went to QuickBooks Online because you can have concurrent users. And you can have up to 3 concurrent users at a time, and that has worked really well. Unfortunately, it's glitchy. They will do updates and not tell you, and that's essentially what happened here. They did an update to the software. They didn't warn us an update was coming. We were working in the system as they were doing this update. Apparently, we're not the only organization that really had this problem. Apparently, there were several that had this problem, and apparently the update didn't go well, and so they retracted the update. But when they retracted the update, some of the things that we had done during that period in between
Got lost.
got turned upside down. They did not revert back properly. So literally when Debbie was calling QuickBooks to ask for assistance, she would pull up a particular invoice and they would say, okay, well, click on the button that says pay later. And she'd say, there is no button that says pay later. And they're like, oh, that's a problem. So, so it's been a rough couple of weeks. But the problem is when we were doing this, tighten my story here a little bit, when we were trying to figure out what to do about software, I did talk to our auditor and I said, we are on QuickBooks, and he said, yeah, it's not my favorite product. And I said, well, do you have any suggestions? And he said, the problem is, as a library, you have one fund. And he said, if you go to a higher quality software, it's designed for municipalities that have multiple funds. So you will go from paying between $500 and $1,000 a year for your software to paying like $20,000 a year for your software.
And getting a lot that we don't need.
And
because,
using it in a
because we don't have
huge-
those enterprise funds. or
Absolutely.
those dedicated
So what we're
funds.
struggling with is QuickBooks is kind of the product that fits our size, but they're struggling right now, and there isn't really anything else. So we're going to try and navigate through this, and as part of this financial cohort thing, I can assure you that our next meeting, I will be asking the other libraries, what are you using? Because we're really struggling, and see if there's anybody else struggling, if they're using anything better.
Yeah, any of them that are part of a municipal, like we used to be when we were part of the township, then we were just one piece of that bigger
Yeah.
thing, but
When we were a township department, it was BSNA, which obviously we were just one line in their larger,
Right.
one little fund in their larger package, and that was a lot of software for what we do.
right, it's way too
So
much.
it's way too much for
Why,
what we
why
need.
would we want to spend the money? But there have to be other libraries that are similar
Mhm.
in both size and organization level to us, that somebody must know something.
Perhaps we can get QuickBooks to alert us when they're doing updates.
Well, I talked to our accountant about it as well, and she does service other libraries in a similar manner to the way she contracts with us. And when I called her and explained all this, she said, that's the strangest thing I've ever heard. She said, my other clients aren't having this problem. And I said, well, we did talk to the accountant for the Friends of the Library, because he's very skilled at QuickBooks, and I called and said, can I consult with you? I said, we can pay you to be a consultant, but I know you're a QuickBooks expert, and I have this question. And he said, just tell me what you need. So I explained it to him, and he said, you're not the only one having this problem. He has had many of his clients calling and complaining about the software in the last few weeks, and they are having problems as well. So when Sharon, who's our accountant, when I said what Patrick had reported, she said, so what you're saying is I got lucky with my other clients? And I said, I think so. That you are fortunate that we are the only one who is struggling with this right now. So I'm not sure what happened that we did that was problematic, but I don't think it's pretty obvious it's not anything that we did specifically. It's just that we happened to be working in it when the upgrade went south.
Well, that's already an issue. They should be doing the upgrades at like 3 a.m.
Yeah.
when nobody would be working
Which would
on
be
it.
better.
Well, I think they did. The problem is I think they did the upgrade, and there was a period of time that it took them to realize, like a few days for them to realize that what they did was problematic. And we worked during those days, whereas not every library would be working every single day on our accounts payable. We do check runs every other week, so, and a lot of libraries do them that way. So the other clients may not have been working on it that week like we were, and unfortunately our timing stinks. So
Well, at least we're aware.
we are aware, but we're trying to unravel it. So it's been messy.
So the bottom line is that we have 5 adjustments we want to make for the end of the year.
Can we make this motion as
You could-
one big?
Yep, you could make a motion as the recommended budget adjustments as presented, and I will
I'll
put it
make
in.
that motion.
And I will put it in the minutes.
That was easy.
Boy, that was simple and easy.
I think that's partly why she does it like this.
It
it's all
is.
on one piece of
It
paper.
is.
Yeah, this is-
The first few times I didn't know that, and when I figured out that this was an okay way to do this, then I realized that this, because then I could just put it right in the minutes and.
Right, and it's all right here.
it's very
and we
clean.
discussed it, each and every item, but it's nice if I don't have to read the whole thing when I make a motion.
And do we have a second?
There was that list.
Okay.
Oh, thank you.
We have a second. So it's been moved and seconded that we approve the end of year budget adjustments as presented. Any other comments or questions about this? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion is passed.
Good job.
Leading us to our most favorite item of the night. I will accept a motion for adjournment.
I move.
Been moved and seconded that we adjourn. No comments, right?
No.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion passes, and we are adjourning at 6:34.
Good meetings. I covered a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
I thought it was going to be longer. Thank you
I
all.
did too. I was just gonna